So let's move on to the Lookalike Audience Builder. We're here in the Lookalike Audience Builder screen, and there are two different modes here, Lookalike modes. One is called audience-based, and the other one is called campaign conversions. Now let's look at the audience-based mode first, because that is kind of the more traditional mode. And if you're in a hurry and you want to learn more about the campaign conversions mode, then just scroll a little bit further down to the middle of this video, and you'll find that section explained there. All right, so for the audience-based mode, it's actually the easiest way to select a bunch of audiences and then build lookalike audiences from them is to go back to the audience list window. And here you can just simply select a bunch of audiences that you want to use as base audiences. So an easy way to do this is maybe to just filter them down, so you only show the custom audiences here in this list, and then maybe you want to, narrow it down by a certain keyword that you know is in the name of the audiences you want to use. And now you just kind of click around here and select some audiences that you want to use as base audiences. And then the next thing is that you just simply click on this button, which has now become enabled here. It says create lookalike audience from selected. So we're going to click on that, and you can see it takes us back over to the Lookalike Audience Builder screen. And you can see in the base audience field here, this has now been populated with all of the audiences that we've selected in the audience list. And you can also select more audiences by clicking into this field now and scrolling down the list here. But depending on how large your audiences are, how big your account is that you're working with, this might be a very long list here and a very long field. So you can also, add here to the selection from here, or take away by unchecking that. So you can do all kinds of things here as well. But if you already know that you've selected the audiences in the audience list, then you're done here and you're ready to move on to the next settings. Now, the next setting here is the country classification, and that's simply telling Trackify if you want to combine the audiences into the same lookalike audience, or if you want to create separate lookalike audiences for each country. All right, so let's say we're going to put in here United States, and let's say we're also going to put in Canada. Now I have two countries in here. So now it makes a difference, right? If I select separate countries for each LAA, then that means now I'm going to build a separate audience, lookalike audience for the United States, and then a separate audience for lookalike audience for Canada. Okay, whereas if I combine them, I'm just going to create one lookalike. Now, I should qualify that a little bit, because in this mode, we're actually creating a separate lookalike audience for each of the base audiences, right? So this will now create 4 lookalike audiences, because each of these audiences here gets a separate lookalike audience built. Now it's going to combine those into the countries into the same lookalike audience. So we're still at 4 lookalike audiences up to here, but now here comes another multiplier of this bulk audience builder that we have in Trackify, and that is that you can create audiences for multiple audience sizes at the same time. So here now I've selected 10 different lookalike audience sizes, and that means the 4 audiences that we were going to build up to this point are going to now be multiplied by 10, right? Because now it's going to build each one of those audiences here as a base audience, and it's going to build one lookalike audience with the combined countries here, and one that's going to be 1%, one that's going to be 2%, 3%, and so forth. All right. Now, you can, instead of selecting countries, you can also select regions. That's over here, and there are some pretty interesting things. For example, iTunes App Store countries. Well, that's a pretty interesting region, right? So there's some funky regions here in those regions that are available. And you only need to select either countries or regions. You can also select both, but you only have to do either one of those, all right? Okay, so same thing applies here. Now, if I click Create Lookalike Audience, I actually get a little bit confirmation here, confirmation counter, because we want to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed with the amount of lookalike audiences that Trackify is going to create here for you automatically. So 40 lookalike audiences are here, so we can kind of double check that real quick. Well, that's exactly what we said, right? We have 4 base audiences, so each of them gets its own lookalike, 1 region here in this case, and then times 4 audience sizes. So 40 is the right one. Now, when you click yes, it'll start to create them. Actually, let's do this. Let me actually run it, but not with 10 sizes. Let's just go for 2 of them, okay? So create, so now I have 8. Let's actually run this because I want to show you the messages that you get, because Trackify will give you feedback here for each individual audience, if it was successful or not, and it'll let you know. Let's move on to the other mode. Okay, so let's wipe all this out. It's actually easy to wipe out because you just have to click over here to campaign conversions, and you see the whole form is now reset and restructured. The ad account remains selected because we're assuming that you want to use or work with the same ad account. And then here now these are special audiences that are built not from other base audiences, but rather they are based on campaigns or ad sets, or a combination of campaigns or ad sets. And so with that, we're going to actually look into the ad account here and select campaigns, right? So if you click in this field now, you're going to get a list of all the campaigns that are in this particular ad account. So there isn't a whole lot going on here. This is all just demo. But when you select an ad account here, that is your main ad account, you'll actually see all of your campaigns down here. All right. So you click one to select it. You can also select multiple campaigns if you have multiple campaigns. And then you can, but you don't have to, it's optional, select ad sets within this campaign. So, and here's how these rules work. The audiences, the lookalike audiences, are going to be based on conversions in the selected campaign or campaigns. All right. If you don't have enough conversions, you're not going to be able to build a lookalike audience based on that campaign. So you have to kind of look which campaign has good amount of conversions and start with that. These are really awesome audiences for scaling, and it's great to use these lookalike audiences, but you have to use a campaign that has enough conversions so that you can actually get enough data for building that lookalike audience based on that. And the rules here, the selection rules, are a little bit complicated, because so what you can do here is, if you have multiple campaigns, you can select multiple campaigns and it will all build one lookalike audience based on all of the selected campaigns. And the purpose of that is, again, if you don't have a single campaign that has enough conversions, then you can combine multiple campaigns together and they will maybe hopefully have enough conversions so that they can fuel your lookalike audience. Okay, so in the campaign conversions mode, all of the selected assets here are combined into a single lookalike audience. Whereas if you remember when we were talking about the audience-based mode, in that one we create a separate lookalike audience for each selected base audience. All right, so here everything is combined. Now, what happens when, let's say, you have multiple campaigns and you have a couple of campaigns selected, but you have only selected one ad set, right? So now that one ad set is obviously inside one campaign, but then you also have a second campaign here that is selected in this field, but you haven't selected an ad set from that campaign down here. So the rule that we follow here is simple. Again, we combine everything, but if you select an ad set within a campaign, then the other ad sets that are not selected from that campaign are not part of this audience, right? So that means only the ad sets that are selected in that campaign are going to be considered as part for this source. And on the other hand, if you have an additional campaign here and there's no ad set selected inside that campaign, then that entire campaign will be added to the results of this ad set to be all combined into this this audience. So I hope this makes sense. It's a little bit unintuitive to explain, but it actually makes total sense, because you want to be able to select, either niche down and hone into a super successful ad set that has a bunch of conversions, or you want to bring things together where you say, okay, well, I'm going to take this ad set over here from this campaign, I'm going to combine it with another campaign, and I'm going to use that whole other campaign so I don't have to bother selecting ad sets on that. And you'll see how that works. It's actually pretty intuitive. Anyway, the point here is all of the assets that are selected are going to be combined into one single lookalike audience. And then down here below, you can do the same thing again. You can select multiple countries, and if you select multiple countries, then this switch here, this selection makes a difference, right? So if you have separate countries for each lookalike, then we'll create two lookalike audiences now, right? One for all of the selections up here combined, but separate ones for each of the selected countries. So that's 2 in this case. And then you have the multiplier here again for however many sizes you select. All right, well, that's it. And let us know how this works out for you. These campaign conversions are brand new, and I hope you have great success with that and you make good use of it in Trackify.